Manchester United host Ipswich in the Premier League, and dare I say it, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think if we win this game, we won't get relegated. We've got some talking points to discuss. We want to talk about the midfield of Manchester United and how we could potentially set up. We're going to talk about the striker options as well. We're of course going to give our predicted 11 and score predictions. Please do smash a like on the video, guys. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump right into it. Welcome back to the channel. As always, guys, if you're returning and any new members, welcome as well. Please do hit that subscribe button as we mentioned. We're going to talk about the midfield first and foremost, and we set up a midfield against Everton on the kind of defensive side, I would say, in relation to Ruben Amorim. And look, I can understand there's been a lot of talking points around the midfield the last few weeks with the injuries that we've had. But Manchester United started, I suppose, the game against Everton last week with two defensive midfielders. We had Mamadou Ugarte and we had Casemiro play as two number sixes, two defensive players. And I suppose Ruben Amorim was given Everton maybe the respect that they deserve, given the fact that they were playing really well in the preceding weeks going into this game. But I think the main reason and the main turning point of the game was Bruno Fernandes in the second half. And we've seen Bruno Fernandes being dropped back from the number 10 role into the number 6. And look, I've said an awful lot that I think that's probably where we get the best version of Bruno Fernandes. He likes to take the ball off the back four, and he likes to progress the ball up the field. And I think he's probably our best player at doing that. We've seen Kobbie Mainoo play in the number 6 role an awful lot this season. He's not the type of player to take the ball off the back four, or the back three in our case, and spray it 50, 60, 70 yards. It's not his game. He's very good at intricate 5, 10, 15 yard passes, whereas Bruno Fernandes is very good at carrying the ball, progressing it up to the field. He's got a range of passing in him as well, and I think that was the difference we've seen in Manchester United against Everton on the weekend. Now, again, it all depends on what way Ruben Amorim wants to set up on the weekend. Is he going to go with Bruno Fernandes in the 6, or is he going to go with him in the 10? And I think that is going to determine what we see in all other areas of the midfield. It all depends on where Bruno Fernandes plays. And the big one, of course, is Alejandro Garnacho. I think Garnacho's position was maybe sacrificed against Everton on the weekend because Bruno Fernandes was played more advanced. And I thought Garnacho played really, really well when he came on. And he gives us that maybe threat where he goes at defences, he runs at fullbacks all of the time. And I think he does give us that goal threat going forward. We know the limitations are there with Garnacho at the moment. He's a young player. His finishing and his eye for goal needs to improve. And look, I'm sure that will improve as he gets older and his career goes on. And I think, you know, it's hard to say this week in, week out, but we've got to have a little bit of patience with him. And look, subsequently, if Bruno Fernandes plays in the 10, then you're probably going to see either Garnacho or Xerxes drop out. And if Bruno Fernandes plays in the 6, then it's probably going to be Casemiro that we see drop to the bench. When it comes to Casemiro, I feel sorry for him sometimes because he played in the 6 last week with Bruno Fernandes in, I think it was the Spurs game maybe, when Ugarte was missing. And Bruno Fernandes likes to roam. That's part of his game. You might see him at left wing, right backs, you know, centre forward at times. And Casemiro is asked to do an awful lot of covering. He's not got the legs to do it. He really doesn't. And, you know, I think when you pair him up with Mamadou Ugarte, and we've seen an awful lot of that under Ruud van Nistelrooy for the few games that he was in charge, and it looked to work really well. I just think Casemiro is past his best. I really like him as a player, but, you know, I think subsequently he has to be a squad player. And when he's on that kind of wages, it's probably more beneficial for us to move him on as quickly as possible. And the other midfield player then, guys, as well, is Joshua Xerxes. Now, Joshua Xerxes has had a couple of good performances, and we've been calling for him to get a run of games where he can maybe prove his worth to this Manchester United side. He's not going to get you goals. He's not going to bag 15, 20 goals a season when he's playing in that number 10 position. But I think his link-up play, his hold-up play is quite good, in fairness to him. And, you know, the last couple of games, he has been up there with some of our better performers. So, again, look, like I say, guys, I think it all comes down to Bruno Fernandes, where he plays on the weekend, if it's in the 10, if it's in the 6. And I'll get into my predicted 11 in a few moments. But the midfield balance needs to be right against a very technical side like Ipswich. Now, next up, we're going to talk about our striker situation. And obviously, look, we know it's no secret now that Rasmus Højlund is having a really difficult time at the moment, and no goals in 16 games. It's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, in fairness. I will call for patience with him. He's a young player. It's his second season. He scored 16 goals in his first season at Manchester United. So I do think there is potential there. Whether Ruben Amorim has got the patience for him to, give him maybe another season or two to try and learn the style that Ruben Amorim wants him to play, or whether we move him on in the summer and try and replace him with a different striker, that remains to be seen. I still think Rasmus Højlund as a second striker to somebody like a Victor Osimhen or a Gyökeres, or an experienced striker coming in and leading the line for United, I think would be beneficial to someone like Rasmus Højlund, where the pressure is not there. He can relax a little bit, learn his game. But again, look, as of the here and now, he's not scoring enough goals for him to, be anywhere near good enough from a Manchester United standpoint. And we have seen, obviously, Chido Obi, he's dropped Martin from his name. Chido Obi as a potential replacement, and he's come in, he's got some minutes in the last two games. Obviously, the Spurs game, he only came on for a couple of minutes. He got about a half an hour against Everton. And look, he looks very raw around the edges. He really does. And there's a lot of fine-tuning to be done with young players like him. However, I liked some of the movement from him. He was looking to play off the shoulder. He was looking to get in behind. He looked to be moving constantly in the box when the likes of corners were coming in. When Bruno Fernandes scored from the free kick, he was the very first player to follow in for a potential rebound. He was the closest player to the goalkeeper, and that's the striker instinct that you see in him. Does it garnish him, or should he be a starting option for United on the weekend? I would say he's probably not at that stage yet. I really wouldn't. And again, I go back to putting unnecessary pressure on players of that kind of age, where you bring him in, you play him for 3, 4, 5 games, and let's say he doesn't score, and all of a sudden unnecessary pressure comes onto him. I think it's probably more beneficial from a player standpoint that he is maybe used from the bench for the first maybe 3, 4, 5 games, and if he can get a couple of goals under his belt, then brilliant, put him in. However, look, if he does start, I'm excited to see what he can do from a starting standpoint. But I think from a developmental standpoint, I think it would probably be more beneficial for Obi Martin or Chido Obi to be playing from the bench. But let me know what you guys think. Would you start Chido Obi, or would you continue with Rasmus Højlund? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, let's talk a little bit about Ipswich. And of course, they are one of the teams that is fighting relegation this season. And, I mean, look, we're down there with them. I don't think, we're necessarily in a relegation battle. But when we look at the league table, obviously Manchester United sit 13 points clear of the relegation zone. We're not in a relegation battle, and what I said at the start was a bit of light-hearted banter. But Ipswich are fighting for some results at the moment, and look, Kieran McKenna is a very, very good coach. I honestly do believe that, and to bring him from League One to the Premier League in consecutive seasons has been absolutely fantastic. But the results over the last 5 games haven't been that good. They've only got 1 draw, and they've lost 4 times in their last 4 games, in their last 5 games in the Premier League. Obviously, the only win that they've got in the last 6 has come against Coventry City in the FA Cup. Look, but I mean, Ipswich are a dangerous team. They really are. They've had very good moments this season, and some of them have come against the bigger teams, your Liverpools, your Man Cities, your Arsenal, so on and so forth. They have given a lot of teams difficulties within games. And I do think United, currently how we're playing, we've really got to be on our toes going into this game, because if we're not, they're the type of team that can punish you. And when they've got the likes of Delap playing up front, who's really doing well, in one of the lesser teams in the Premier League, scoring a lot of goals, a lot more goals than maybe he's expecting to be scoring, you've got to be on your toes going into games like this. And I think Kieran McKenna knows Manchester United. Obviously, look, he's new to the whole Ruben Amorim system as we are, but he'll have his homework done, and he knows, I suppose, the level of expectation going into Old Trafford, and he knows if he can silence the crowd there, all of a sudden, they come into the game maybe second half. United tend not to score goals in first half games. I think 20 out of the 26 games this season we've failed to score in the first half. So they'll be looking to stay in the game for as long as possible. And I think if they do that, it does give them a good opportunity to go on and win. So United really do have to be on their toes. And if we can get an early goal, I think it'll take a lot of the pressure off. Now, let's get into our predicted 11. And obviously, we seen last week, this was the starting lineup. Onana in goal, back three of Mazraoui, Maguire, De Ligt, Dalot, Dorgu as wing-backs, Ugarte, Casemiro, Bruno, Xerxes and Højlund up front. In terms of the back three, I mean, would you change it up? We didn't look too assured against Everton, to be quite honest with you. I don't think Harry Maguire played too well. I think De Ligt has had a couple of iffy games. I think he's been really good overall for us this season. And of course, the main one is Lenny Yoro. And I think this kind of game would suit Lenny Yoro. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's brought in. What I would like to see more than anything else is I would like to see Mazraoui, even though he's played well in the back three, I would like to see him come out, and I would like to see Yoro go in maybe on that left-hand side to give us a little bit of, I suppose, youth, a little bit of pace, and I think in turn what that would do is I would bring Dalot out and I would bring Mazraoui in on that right hand side. I'd like to see Mazraoui play as the wing back again. I think he's done really well in the back three, and he's probably been he has been our best defender in the last couple of games in the back three. But I think Yoro would be a good fit. Now, look, I wouldn't be disappointed if Yoro comes in and maybe Maguire drops out. You keep Mazraoui in the back three. Maybe De Ligt goes centrally and Mazraoui goes there with Dalot on. I wouldn't be too disappointed with that either. I think Yoro will suit this game. I genuinely do. So for that reason, I'd bring him in, and I would bring Mazraoui out like that as wing backs. And look, when we're talking about wing backs, of course, Dorgu has been one of our better players in the last few games since he's come to Manchester United. We see this out of new players, and again, we can link this to the youth that are coming through as well. When a player gets his opportunity to play at first minutes for a new club, whether that be a youth coming up from the underage academy or whether a new player is coming in from a different club, you do get 9 times out of 10 good performances, and after maybe 5 or 6 games the dust settles a little bit and we can judge them an awful lot more. And you know, Dorgu has come in, and he has come in with his own fresh new mentality, and he's looked good. He's given us athleticism on that left hand side. He's given us natural overlapping abilities as well. His crosses into the box have been good. He's defending quite well. I've been impressed with him over the last few games. So I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be playing again on that left-hand side. Now, again, midfield. We've talked about midfield. We've spoken about midfield a little bit in the points recently. What way would I go in midfield in this game? Well, I think Casemiro has to come out. That's what I would say. I think Casemiro comes out. I think Bruno drops back into the number 6, and I am bringing in Garnacho on the left side of the 2 number 10s. Garnacho does like to drift out wide, pick up the ball and run in at defenders, and I think he's been doing it quite well. It's probably been the most dangerous aspect of our game in the last few weeks when Garnacho has been coming in like that and really going at defenders and fullbacks. He's been creating chances, and chances have been falling to him. He has to start taking them if he wants to take that next step. But that's what I would do with the midfield 4 guys. I would have Ugarte and Bruno as our 2 number 6s, and Garnacho and Xerxes then as our 2 number 10s. Up front then, guys. Up front, look, I think it's going to be Højlund again. I genuinely do. I know he's been struggling. Sometimes a striker just needs that one goal, you know, and I think if he gets it, he will have maybe a boost in confidence that he so desperately needs. And again, I go back to what I've said before. I think it's going to be Chido Obi off the bench for the next few games, maybe until he can establish himself. And if he can get a couple of goals off the bench, all of a sudden he might find himself in that starting squad. But I think for now it's Højlund. I think this team is good enough, guys, to go out and beat Ipswich on the weekend, but mentality has to be right. It's got to be right. We've got to go hell for leather from minute 1. We've seen against Everton on the weekend, as soon as a goal goes in, Manchester United's mentality changes all of a sudden. You've got to bring that mentality in from minute 1 in the game, and I think if we can do that, I think we've got a really good opportunity of having a comfortable victory against Ipswich. Score prediction, so guys, Again, look, Manchester United are not scoring an awful lot of goals. Our forward line is struggling to do that. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes scored from a set piece on the weekend, and Ugarte got the equaliser. I'm concerned over the last few games about the amount of goals we're conceding as well. We concede most games, so I don't think it's going to be a clean sheet again, especially when you've got the likes of Delap up front, who's absolutely banging in goals this season, having a really good season. Score prediction, I'm going to go 2-1 win to Manchester United. I think we can get the job done if we've got the right mentality and we go out there, and have high intensity chance creation from minute one. I think we can go on and win this game. We can't go out with a lackluster start like we've done in the last few games. Slow, lethargic. I think all of that does is it allows the crowd in Old Trafford to get a little bit maybe tetchy and a little bit disappointed. And that filters out onto the team then as well, So I think we go out, start fast, get an early goal. I think we can have a comfortable game, but I'm going with a 2-1 win to Manchester United. Let me know your score predictions in the comment section below, guys. Do let me know your starting 11 as well, your predicted 11. We will be live for the game on Wednesday night as well, so make sure you're joining us for that. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on the video, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.